Make sure you don't let anyone block your view, and make sure that someone saves you a good seat as you slide right into it. Celebrate the wins with us. Sports Night is next.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Sports Night. I'm Joe Young.
And I'm Howard Shapiro. We missed you on Saturday at the hockey game, but glad everything went well. Glad you're doing bad.
It was a good one, too.
Oh,
I watched some from home, and
it was a really good one.
Better off not yelling at the top of my lungs as I may have been had I been in attendance.
Probably
but
wouldn't.
As short as the last couple of shows have been, this one is absolutely jam-packed.
No time for us to banter, or at least very little time for us to banter anyway.
There's always enough time for a little
We'll go an hour tonight.
We start with the boys hockey team. They went over to Forest Lake last week to take on the Rangers. A tough game. The Cardinals dropped 5-2 at the hands of the Rangers. Tyler Barsness and Ben Kish each had a goal and an assist. Nate Klinzing and Caden Elfin each had assists as well. Will Wagner gave up 4 goals on 20 shots in the loss. And then on Thursday, they took on Anoka and their second win over the Tornadoes this season by the exact same score, 5-2. Eli Bowden, a hat trick of assists. Tandon Bush, a goal and a helper. Bresnahan and Barsness each had a pair of assists, and Will Wagner had a little bit better night getting the win with 20-plus saves. Well, the Cardinals were hoping to make it back-to-back wins to finish the week, and they had a good chance against a struggling Spring Lake Park squad on Saturday. Panthers had lost 9 of their previous 10, but they were not to be overlooked. Cardinals knew they would need guys to step up to fill the holes left from injuries, and they would need to keep the pressure on if they hoped to stay above 500. Cardinals start the scoring in the first. Good hold at the blue line. Tandon Bush's shot is stopped, but Tristan Golan is on the doorstep to poke it home and give the Cards a lead with just over 5 minutes to go. Unfortunately, they give up a goal in the final minute of the period. Drew Lindquist, coming from below the goal line, just throws it at the net and finds a hole. It trickles past Wagner, and it's all tied at 1 after 1. Second period, Cardinals trying to kill a 5-on-3, but Teddy Wackman gets loose at the back door. He gets the one-timer from there. Spring Lake Park takes the 2-1 lead. Coon Rapids is able to answer. Tristan Golan with a good hold on the board, and this is proof. Sometimes you just throw it at the net, good things happen. This one goes off the keeper's stick and into the net. Golan's second of the game. It's 2-2 going to the third. Panthers retake the lead on the rush. Ian Roll down the left wing feeds Wackman in the slot for another one-time goal. 3-2 Panthers. The Cardinal power play just 2 minutes later. Thiessen's shot is knocked down, but Eli Bowden there to push it home. We're tied again at 3. Panthers with a power play late in the third. Way too many penalties, both sides in this one. Ian St. Martin, the wrist shot. Jay Balsamo with the tip out front. That made it 4-3 Spring Lake Park. About 5 minutes left, and that held up as the game winner. Cards drop a tough 1-goal game.
Yeah, it really was a tough game, and as you mentioned, way too many penalties on both teams, and that hurt both squads as that game went along. But a tough one to lose. I mean, it was so exciting because Spring Lake Park tied it up with 21 seconds left in the first. Cardinals tied it up with 1:02 left in the second, and then a couple of goals scored by Spring Lake Park and just the one by Coon Rapids. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get it done. It was tough.
Well, and it's tough for Coon Rapids, missing 2 of your top 6 forwards for the rest of the season.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
As they lost Engberg, we talked about the crash into the boards last week, and now Ben Kish lost to a knee injury. He's done for the rest of the season. That's 2 of your top 6. Those are big. Those are big holes.
A lot of points.
And that gives a lot of other guys an opportunity to step up and try and keep this train moving. They're at Elk River on Thursday, and Howie?
We'll be there.
And they will host Andover on Saturday.
Well, the girls' hockey team saw some very tough competition last week, starting with a visit from one of the top teams in the suburban East, Roseville, Mahtomedi. The Marauders, they came in at 13-5, riding a 6-game win streak. They would present a serious challenge, but the Bluebirds were determined to keep their own hot streak intact. Bluebirds were 3-0-2 in their previous 5 as they took the ice at Crick on Tuesday night, and they start the scoring just over 2 minutes in. Kayla Ketting finds Tessa Bowden at the back door. She hammers it home. CPCR a very early lead. It was 3-2 Bluebirds after one power play in the second. Brooklyn Johnson's shot is stopped up high, but Kylie Oswego there to sweep the rebound home. That made it 4-2, and then CPCR held on a tight one, winning it in a 5-4 score.
Well, on Wednesday, the Bluebirds traveled to Andover to take on the 5th-ranked Huskies. Huskies have been almost unbeatable the past 3 seasons, and their string of dominance over CPCR continued. Took a little while for them to break the seal, but the Huskies scored 3 times in a 3.5-minute span late in the first period. Hannah Christensen's wrist shot, top shelf, gave the Huskies a comfortable lead going to the locker room. Huskies added to the lead with a pair of back-to-back goals midway through the second. Ella Borger beats Wastrel high on the glove side, make it 5-0 after 2. They add another just 90 seconds into the third. Courtney Little's point shot through traffic finds the net. Huskies add one more late in the period, hand the Bluebirds a 7-0 loss. And they just a really tough schedule. When the Andover game was a reschedule based on an earlier snow out.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Andover's been so tough these past couple of years, and probably a little upset coming into that game because the day before they found out they were dropped from number 2 ranked to number 5 ranked. So they may have come in with something to prove.
Yeah, I think they came with a little fire in their belly, certainly. There's no doubt about that.
Well, and the road didn't get any easier. On Saturday, the Bluebirds went down and took on number 1 ranked Minnetonka. And CPCR held this one scoreless through the first period and actually got the first goal of the game early in the second. But after that, it was all Minnetonka as the Skippers bound away with a 5-1 win, out shooting the Bluebirds 47-13. Wastrel did everything she could to keep them in the game. 42 saves is a heck of a night for any goaltender. But they take the loss 5-1. Chance this week for them to get a sweep over Elk River Zimmerman. They beat them twice, right at the end of December in the tournament, and then earlier this month in regulation play. And now the third meeting of the season, trying to sweep Elk River Zimmerman. That's on Tuesday, and then they take on Northern Tier on Saturday.
Yeah, after losing to Andover and Minnetonka back-to-back, they could use those games, a couple of wins, hopefully.
Hopefully. Elk River, those have been two tough games. 3-2 wins, both of them.
Yeah, it's tough to beat a team 3 times as well.
We have mentioned that once or twice.
The wrestling team had just one meet this past week, hosting Champlain Park on Thursday. It was supposed to be a tri-meet with Albert Lee, but the Tigers weren't able to come due to the weather. The Cardinals had just beaten Champlain Park at the Rebel Duels on Saturday, but this one meant more as it goes towards the conference standings. It was senior night for the wrestling squad. They wanted to leave no doubt that their team was going to come out once again on top. Freshman Tyler Ribeiro does his part at 1:13. He takes Champlain's Kayatron to the mat right away in the first. He's eventually able to get the slap on the mat. Cardinals lead 9-0. The Rebels won the next 3 matches, had a lead going into 1:38, but sophomore Gilbert Kostek puts the stop to that. He takes Malachi Zong to the mat early in the second period. Pin puts the Cards up 15-14. They never trailed again. They won 4 of the remaining 5 matches. Captain Carter Skradsky added a pin at 160. Champlain had to forfeit the final 3 weights, so the Cardinals run away with a 49-20 win. They won 7 of the 11 matches that went to the mat.
Yeah, and that's the best news out of that. They got a couple of pins. I think one major decision. On the other side is those 4 that Champlain Park did win, all with bonus points.
Yeah.
And they would like to limit those as much as possible as they get closer to section time.
They certainly do. We want to thank head coach Bob Adams as well for coming on and adding to our broadcast. And
adding a ton to our broadcast.
We could have just been quiet and he could have done the whole thing by ourselves. But thanks, Coach. That was great. We appreciated it.
Yeah, they are at Centennial for a quadrangular this weekend, Friday, and it is Maple Grove and St. Cloud Tech that are scheduled to be there with them, and then the Bengals invite is a week from Saturday. Gymnastics team had a couple of events last week. Unfortunately, their scores had some errors, so they are still in the process. Some were incomplete, some were inaccurate. There were 2 events last week, and I appreciate both Coach Diane Habel and Kevin Dieters for continually keeping me updated as they went back and forth trying to get the scores corrected. But we will have the correct numbers for you, hopefully, next week on Sports Night. They are at Maple Grove on Thursday, and then the Rogers Invite is on Saturday. Swimming and diving team took on a somewhat overpowered Park Center squad on was that Thursday last week. A runaway victory for the Cardinals, and Coach Doug Donaldson said, it's not about the win. It's always nice to get the win,
sure.
But he was really excited about the way some of the guys were swimming. I think he's Larson, he said in particular, had a couple of either season bests or personal best times. Mitch Tronson had a couple of first place finishes. I mean, everybody was finishing on top, and they were able to do some other things, get some guys in some different events because they knew it was a little bit a team that wasn't going to be able to compete with them, and they were able to get some guys in some different events, do some Totino-only relays.
Which I thought that was great.
Which, in the Totino-only relays, they said they were like top 3 in school history.
Yeah, I think it was number 2, actually, yeah. Yep.
So that's very cool. But not a lot of season remains. They are hosting Elk River on Thursday this week, and then next week will be their Northwest Suburban Conference tournament meet, which is still to be determined. We hope to know who that will be by the beginning of next week for Sports Night. Nordic ski teams were taking part in a Northwest Suburban Conference 5K skate last Thursday, and the boys did very well, finishing 3rd place. Lachlan Demmer leading the way, 3rd place overall. Aaron Casey was in 11th with Albie Ludwig in 14th. Peyton Martinick right behind him in a tie for 15th place, and Bauer was the 5th placing Cardinal in 19th place overall, 20 minutes, 25 seconds. Girls finished in 4th place. Stella Bone again leading the way, another top 10 finish for her. Megan Fuller not far out of the mix in 17th. Ruby Demmer was in 23rd, and then Fuller and Borns were in 28th and 29th respectively. Upcoming for them, they have the Northwest Suburban Conference Championships. They're at Elm Creek this week.
Right.
Northwest Suburban Conference Championships a week from tonight on Monday next week, end of January, as they get set for their section meets. Alpine ski team will have its conference championships this week. They had a pair of events last week. On Monday, they did a bracket-style tournament that none of the Cardinals were able to make it to the finals, but a little bit different way for them to race, and that's kind of fun for the kids.
I like that.
And then on Thursday, they had the 5th and final regular season race, and the boys finished in 10th overall. Joe Van Norman, top finisher in 57th. Derby Bone in 69th. Simon finished 71st with Chesser in 72nd and Easton in 73rd. On the girls' side, they finish in 9th place. Again, it's Carly Hafferman leading the way, a 30th place finish. Got in under a minute in her 2 runs combined. Julia Sides was 57th with Zoe Scheck in 69th. Muir in 71st, and Kelly finished in 75th place in 1 minute 24.98 seconds. As I mentioned, they have their Northwest Suburban Conference champion. Well, it's not the Northwest Suburban Conference. It's the same initials, but it's a different acronym.
Right.
For Alpine skiing. Either way, their championship race is on Thursday, and then they'll have a little while, a little time off before the section race, which is coming up on February 7th. None of the online sources have a determined spot for that. Typically, they go up to Giants Ridge, but that's not official yet.
Okay. Well, we'll let everyone know when it becomes official. We hope so, anyway.
Or not.
Or not. Check Joe's Twitter page.
We'll see what we can do. Oh, you'll be waiting a long time on there. Well, moving right along, boys basketball team had a rough week in more ways than one, and it started with a trip to Anoka on Tuesday night. Cardinals and Tornadoes had nearly identical records, similar results against common opponents, and both were trying to end three-game losing streaks. Unfortunately, the Tornadoes stormed to a win that left the Cardinals in ruins. Troubles start right away. Sloppy turnover leads to a breakaway for Reagan Reeder. He throws it down with authority, part of a 13-0 spurt that put Anoka up 23-6. Cardinals, meanwhile, ice cold from the floor. Young with a miss on the three. Fortunately, Jerry Freeman there for the putback. Cardinals trying to chip away at the lead. Push the pace a little too much here, but nice save by Elijah Tabla. He gets it back in the corner, finds some room along the baseline for the reverse layup. Still, they're not able to threaten the lead in the first. Tornadoes keep bringing the storm in transition. Donald Pra had 16 of his game-high 26 in the first half. Anoka to the locker room up 15, and they weren't slowing down in the second. Get the Cardinals running on defense. Pra finds Reeder underneath. Another big dunk. Cards did do a better job offensively in the second half, but they can't stop the Tornadoes. Afi Ibekwe converts on another fast break, and Anoka puts this baby to bed with an 88-61 win over the Cardinals. And frustrations both before, during, and after that game really boiled over.
It's really tough to see what, the way programs can change in an evening. But, I just didn't see the effort from Coon Rapids in that game, especially defensively. You saw a lot of open baskets, a lot of second and third chance opportunity for Anoka. And, Anoka is not an 88-61 team that's better by that margin than Coon Rapids. I just feel the fact that there's some turmoil in the program, and eventually it ended up boiling over.
And it did, and unfortunately, it led to a couple of players leaving the program on Wednesday, meaning those who remain have an opportunity here to really try and pick up the pieces, but. A lot to digest as they move through the remainder of the season.
I talked to Coach O'Gork about it, and I said, now you've got an opportunity for maybe some of your JV players to step up to the varsity level and see how they can compete. And he said, and he agreed. There's some players on JV that he's going to give some more minutes to at this point, and so hopefully, we see that some of these younger players step up and hopefully fill some of those holes.
Well, it would have been nice for him to. Get a softer opponent with their new shorter roster, but not the way it happened.
No, well, the Cardinals didn't have a lot of time to react to the shakeups. They were back in action on Friday, hosting Maple Grove. The Crimson came in ranked second in 4A with a 10-2 record, both of their losses to other top 10 teams. It was a nearly impossible task, but a great opportunity to see who would step up. Cardinals working the perimeter early. Anthony Belpedio driving to the baseline to score and get the home team on the board. Well, and they're able to keep pace with the mighty Crimson in the early going. Belpedio again, this time a three-pointer. Belpedio had 10 points for the second straight game. Well, the Cardinals led briefly against Maple Grove, but the Crimson have so many weapons. Lincoln Publicki dominating down low. Third try is good, and it's tied at 12. Maple Grove pulled away from there, but the Cardinals do their best to keep pace. Connor Jordan with a basket on the inbound. Cardinals trail 34-21 at the half. Down but not out in the scoring. Jackson Hetwer stepped up big to keep this team close. This jump shot part of a career best 19 to lead all scorers. But the Crimson are number 2 for a reason. Henry Stang pokes this one free and then gets it loose on the breakaway. He had a team high 17 for Maple Grove. He helps them break this one open down the stretch, staying with a three-pointer that pushed the lead to over 20 as the Crimson secure a 72-41 win.
Yeah,
tough loss for a lot of reasons.
Top of your game with your complete roster on an ideal day, that's a tough team to try and play.
Yep.
Right after all of this has happened, a lot to ask of those young men who just a few days earlier were hoping for minutes off the bench and now are asked to step in and play against one of the top teams in the state of Minnesota. So when you look at it that way, the score really not too bad. And, you don't get a night off. Nobody in the Northwest Suburban is going to say, oh, you guys are having a tough time. We'll go easy on you. Doesn't happen in this league. They're at Osseo on Tuesday and at Centennial on Thursday. Well, the girls basketball team had a busy schedule last week, starting with a visit from conference and section rival Anoka. Tornadoes came in with a 10-3 record and holding the top the top spot in Section 7. Cardinals were trying to break out of a scoring drought, averaging less than 30 points per game over their previous 3. Cardinals not intimidated at all by the mighty Tornadoes, and they come out firing from long range to take an early lead. Off the miss, kick out to Casey Beck. She gets the bounce on the rim. 3 of her 9 points. Cardinals out to an early 8-2 lead, and she wasn't the only one. Check out how far away Kaylee Bierman is. She's forever away, and it's nothing but net. Their perimeter shooting helps the Cards keep the lead for much of the first half. Bierman again, this time from the right corner. Another sweet swish. She had a team-high 13. But the Tornadoes stormed to a lead before the break. Evan Epinga knocks down a 3 for the Tornadoes and tied it at 21. Noak went to the locker room up 27-21. They had the last 10 points of the first half, and they scored the first 12 points of the second half. Off a block, and Noak on the run. Madeline Frecking lays it up and in. All of a sudden, a huge lead for the Tornadoes. The Cardinals don't roll over, though. Kaylin Green with a nice run through the lane. She had 11. Better day offensively for the Cardinals, but nowhere near enough. Tornadoes continue to fill the basket. Short jumper from Lauren Youngquist as Anoka hands the Cardinals a 62-45 loss.
You know, it's a tough season. There's no doubt about it for the girls basketball program. For the most part, until we see the next score, I like the fact that the Cardinals are starting to score a little more offensively. They're not putting up 24 or 36 points. They're scoring 45 and in the 50s. Unfortunately, the next game didn't prove to be true.
I'm with you 100%. We're just going to take a quick peek at their following game. They lost to Maple Grove 65-18, and then they bounced right back up and scored 51 against Forest Lake. That one looks a lot better.
Yeah, it does look a lot better. Absolutely.
Bierman leading the way with 16 points. Kaylin Green had 12. Smith and Tengwall each adding 7, and 3 players with 3 points each. But, still, you got to also be able to get a few more stops.
Yep.
Get these games a little bit closer. But, yeah, the 2 of the 3 games, the scoring a little bit back where they need to be. At least get into the high 40s, into the 50s, start chipping away. Tough to play a team like Maple Grove, boys or girls. Both programs are very strong right
now. We'll get to see them tomorrow night against Osseo, who happens to be a 4-win team, so an opportunity for the Cardinals to see if they can get another win on their home court.
Yeah, and then they will also be on the road on Thursday against Centennial. But here's a look at where we will be. We will be on the road in Elk River on Thursday. We're at home for the girls' basketball game on Tuesday, on the road for hockey Thursday against Elk River. And then on Saturday, the girls' hockey team taking on Northern Tier. And that is going to do it for this edition of Sports Night. We want to thank everybody out there for joining us and continuing to support anything we do here at CTN. For the entire crew, including Howie Shapiro, I'm Joe Young, saying good night.